Welcome to 99th Monkey Liberty News for Monday, December 16th, 2013. The first story today is Rationalizing Usury, the Time Value Hoax. And this article discusses reasons given for paying interest and using that mechanism in banking, but it also states why it doesn't have to happen that way. We've accepted certain things. There's no escaping death and taxes. Well, there is escaping taxes, and at some point there may even be, to some extent, escaping death, whether it's through experiencing something like what Enoch experienced, where he walked with God and just continued walking with God into eternity, skipping over death, or life extension technology that's not evil. Doesn't mean transhumanism, just means living a little bit longer life. But the focus is we've accepted taxes, we've accepted interest rates, we've accepted even inflation. And it's not a necessary part of life. There's actually a lot in the Old Testament of the Bible that God tells them not to have usury. And the New Testament says, "Owe ye no man anything but to love one another." So if you take that literally, you won't go into debt, and by not going into debt, you will live a much better life. So this is an interesting article, very good article. And to go along with taxes, the idea that we've been ingrained that you have to pay taxes. We've really been brainwashed. Income taxes have not been a standard practice throughout history. And this takes about an hour, and I have not listened to the whole thing, but I've heard other men who are aware of this discuss the same topic. The issue of tariffs, how U.S. revenue collection was turned inside out. The function of government that we need. Now, not all the horrible programs that we don't need, but the basic constitutional programs can be supported through tariffs instead of through taxes. And we can get back to that. We just have to break outside our conditioning, break outside our brainwashing, and realize that there are other options and other means of doing things than those that we have been conditioned to accept. Now here's an interesting article. I'm just putting this out there. I don't necessarily agree with it. Capital Liberty News: Bitcoin will eventually lose its prominent anonymity due to central banks. Certainly this pressure is there. And we see our articles, Time Magazine, as I mentioned last week, had a little phrase about Bitcoin on the cover. Bitcoin is coming out into the public eye, and there seem to be people who are meaning to squelch it. So it's remotely possible that this article could be disinfo intended to make people afraid of Bitcoin. And just in discussing this and thinking about this, it seems that what they're saying, it lose anonymity. Well, if we can find ways to protect our online anonymity, and all you really have to do here is, have a very secure internet connection that can't be traced. If you have some program or a service that changes your IP address and reroutes so that people can't really tell exactly where you are. All legal, all lawful. And then if you go through a couple of, you could use cash to purchase a Visa card with cash on it, and then use the Visa card to purchase Bitcoin, and I don't see how they can take away that kind of anonymity. If you're wise about it and you go through a couple of layers. Of course, it could be argued that, there's a drone watching your every move and watching you purchase the Visa card. I don't know, but certainly something to consider, and an article that weighs not so favorably toward Bitcoin, but as I said, I'm not sure that this article is really completely accurate in all their premises. And from Collective Evolution, if you use Facebook, you need to read and share this. They are killing free information. And this is basically just about Facebook's algorithms and how they select what they let you see. Now, I will say, Facebook is a free service. And you have to agree to their terms of service in order to use Facebook. And it's their servers and all. They can pretty much do whatever they want. But if they're representing things in a certain way, then that's not the way things really are, then that is an issue. And just in discussing this with my husband, this article, what's to prevent Facebook from posting something with your name on it, or a comment maybe with your name on it, something that maybe your friends won't see, none of your friends will see, but they're using your name, and if somebody Googles you, Facebook is a risk, and it's a calculated risk if you decide to use it. And I'm not saying that Facebook is doing that. I did have an interesting experience yesterday where I looked at I clicked on a natural news article, not to natural news, but in Facebook, where the article was posted. And at first, all I saw were negative comments. And I was astonished because people who were commenting had already liked natural news. And they were saying things like, "You've gone too far this time, Health Ranger, and I usually believe you, but I'm not going to anymore." Just absurd. I was astonished at some of the comments. And after I commented that I couldn't believe that people would be so easily misled, and that I felt that at least some of the comments were from trolls and shills, then I went to another source on Facebook for the same reference, and I saw a lot of positive comments. So I wondered if they were trying to mess with my head. And we have this herd instinct that they play on, that they think that we always want to be a part of the herd. But this is why we have to vigorously hold on to individual thought and insist on individual thought. And if something doesn't sound right, even if somebody that we typically trust is saying it, I think that we need to be willing to question it. And that's the thing of being constantly awake and not being lulled back to sleep. So being aware of what might happen on Facebook is certainly helpful in staying awake and not just surfing aimlessly on Facebook and trusting what we see and taking everything at face value. Here from consumerreports.org, are too many kids taking antipsychotic drugs? Use is climbing despite questions about how safe the drugs are and how well they work. Now, I know there was another high school shooting, and I'm not covering that. And there's a lot of information out there about it, but I have not personally heard yet whether the student was taking these drugs. It will be interesting to see if that comes out. My main intent in putting this article in today's news video is the fact that it was posted on consumerreports.org. And I have a couple other news articles from pretty mainstream sources that pertain to other ideas, and they're also in today's news, and I'll point them out when we arrive at them. But I find it a positive indicator that some of these issues are breaking into mainstream news, and I think it's happening on a larger scale than we've seen up to this time. I have not read or even clicked on the link to the handbook, but here from a conservative edge, Secret Obama Scare Handbook leaked online. It is here for download. And this says, one paragraph says, the 217-page manual reads like a primer for Amway or a novice car salesman, offering sales advice on how to disarm potential customers who could be lured into purchasing insurance through exchanges created under the Affordable Care Act. So they're selling people on this. If it's good, if it's positive, I do value a good salesperson who has a servant mentality, who is, has a product they really believe in. But scamming people is scamming people, and it's dishonest. And as much as I love being sold by a good salesman, I despise being pushed by a bad salesman into something that I know, or even a good salesman, by something that I know is wrong or is not going to benefit me. So much more on this, and if you really want to dive in, you can read the handbook. And if you do, will you please write some comments on the YouTube video of this news article, or comment somewhere and let us all know what you found out. Thanks. And pertaining to, more true information seeping into the mainstream media, by this, and the other side of the coin is here from Activist Post, the ultimate conspiracy theory propaganda. The liars are trying to invade the market that of alternative media and exposing conspiracies, real conspiracies, not theories, in the alternative media. And here we have this video. So this is the ultimate conspiracy theory propaganda. And this is found in supermarkets, and it's a magazine that supposedly is a tell-all on conspiracy theories. Well, of course it's disinfo, and it is, I'm sure, aimed at people who have questions, maybe who have heard things from here or there, who have families over the holidays who are talking about true conspiracies, and maybe want to learn a little more for themselves. And they're going to be completely misled if they buy this. So hey, maybe you can pick up some of Alex Jones's InfoWars magazines and bring them with you to your holiday celebrations and pass those out so that people aren't so easily confused by all of this propaganda. And Benjamin Fulford's blog was out this morning already, and his blurb for the week is 2011 nuclear terror perpetrators in Japan to be included in ongoing Asian purge of Cabal flunkies. And even in the first part here of the blog, which is free, there's some pretty good information, very encouraging information. As the blog goes on, he gets a little more deeply into what needs to happen in the U.S., and he actually mentions, even early in the blog here, the free part, a purge is planned for the United States and Europe, according to military and Gnostic Illuminati sources. The problem in the U.S. is concentrated in New York and Washington, D.C., and it may be necessary to cut off all communications between those cities and the outside world in order to force them to arrest the mass murderers hiding in their midst. And later on, he, as I scrolled down and read what he wrote, he did write that it also may be necessary to shut down the computers, the banking computers, in order to purge them of all the false quadrillions, I think was the term that he used. And that people in other parts of the world are growing impatient, along with many of us in the U.S., for reform in the U.S. and to purge the evil cabal members out of positions of power. And he suggests that other nations may put pressure on our military to press them to take action so that some other countries won't be forced to take action. So I believe there are good people in our military, and I do believe that they will do the right thing. I believe probably the reason they're waiting is because they want to operate under rule of law, not just some random military coup like a banana republic. But, you know, it was the Cabal members who set up the banana republics in the first place. So, and who helped people stage most of the coups. So we'll see where that all goes. But here is another one of the mainstream news articles that I mentioned. New York Post, inside the Saudi 9/11 cover-up. And this is very significant that it appeared in the New York Post. And it's also significant because, as Fulford stated, once issues like this begin to show up in this kind of media, the U.S., the good military, the white hats, whatever you want to call them, feels more justified in taking action against Cabal members because, you know, there has been a cover-up. And as this becomes more known publicly, as there's bleed over into the mainstream media, these issues are going to gain momentum. It's inevitable that they will. And people are going to be forced to consider these issues. And the evil is going to be exposed. And the good guys, if I can use that term, will have justification under rule of law for bringing about change. So be in prayer about all that. And another mainstream news article. Now both this and the last one that I mentioned were in the opinion sections. But hey, they're there. And this is Forbes. Obama's disdain for the Constitution means we risk losing our republic. Again, solid information being put out in places where people are going to see it. And this article is actually from November, but I noticed it because somebody posted it on Facebook yesterday and stated that this is going viral. People are becoming aware of this article. It's making sense to people. I mean, there were congressional hearings, and it's a real issue, and I think that more and more people are becoming aware. We may be doing 99th Monkey Liberty News light a little bit in the next couple weeks, and there probably will be a few days that I don't even do a video, but even on those days, except for Christmas, probably the days following Christmas until the weekend and through the weekend, of course, I won't do a daily video, but I will put up interesting links. I'll put them together at the 99th Monkey News.com website and probably the pearlsofliberty.com website as well. Just links, no video. You can explore for yourselves. So today is a celebratory day. Today is the anniversary of the Boston Tea Party. And this is a Wikipedia article that was easy enough to find. The Boston Tea Party was a nonviolent political protest by the Sons of Liberty in Boston on December 16, 1773. And we all know how that went down, but anyway, happy birthday to the original Tea Party. And may we follow in their footsteps faithfully. And here for our last article of the day, from Campaign for Liberty, After 100 years of failure, it's time to end the fad. And certainly, I think most people listening to this or watching this video will agree with that. And may it be so. Thank you for tuning in for today's 99th Monkey Liberty News. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Hoping that you will love one another, take care, and insist on liberty.